Members of the military are at risk of losing their careers, their livelihood, for behavior that is often not even a crime in the civilian system. That's why you need to know the facts. You need to know your options, and you need the help of experts when facing military justice.
Hi, I'm Jim Buchanan, and welcome to another edition of Military Justice. Our guest today is Jonathan Crisp, who is a trial attorney specializing in military law at Crisp & Associates. Welcome, Jonathan. Good to see you.
Good afternoon.
Today's topic is criminal investigation. So what exactly is that?
It is a broad approach or a broad term that the military is going to use to kind of document or characterize any investigation into misconduct that could likely result in a criminal prosecution at a court-martial, or depending upon the outcome, may result in an administrative separation or adverse action against your career. So letter reprimand or non-judicial punishment, things like that.
And you can find yourself in this kind of a situation at any time during your service, right?
You can find yourself in this in basic training before you even had a chance to catch your breath. You can find yourself on the way out the door as you're going through a retirement process. So at any point in time, you're subject to an allegation, and it's going to stop your retirement. It's going to stop your ETS potentially. So you're not necessarily going to be able to get out when you think you are getting out.
Well, who's subject to the military criminal investigation?
Any service member who is in a Title 10 status and even in a Title 32 status, for National Guard members. There are different investigative agencies depending upon the entity that you belong to.
Yeah, so you mentioned National Guard. What about the other branches?
Absolutely. The Army, Navy, all the active duty services, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, has their own investigative branch as well.
Okay. Can the non-criminal investigation turn into criminal investigation?
It can. What happens is the typical law enforcement agencies that exist, whether it be NCIS or OSI or CID, they have jurisdiction over certain types of offenses. If the initial allegation does not implicate that jurisdiction and there's a directed investigation from the command, either a CDI or in the Army is called an AR-15-6 investigation or a preliminary inquiry, each investigator knows when they find certain things to stop and say, okay, now I've got to hand it off to this law enforcement agency. Anything short of that is going to stay on the administrative investigative side and still potentially, as I said, result in adverse action.
So what should you do when you're contacted to provide a statement?
It is never advisable to speak off the cuff. I would invoke. You have the right not to incriminate yourself, even in these adverse administrative investigations. So ask to speak to an attorney. There are times when it is appropriate to make a statement, but in a very controlled setting and in a very controlled way. More often than not, it is not an appropriate time to do that.
So in an era of social media and text messaging, it's always good to stop and not do anything.
So the biggest problem we see nowadays is somebody comes under investigation and they panic and they say, oh my gosh, I have to just get rid of anything that is existing, that's problematic, or even just, I don't even want to deal with this person or have any memory of this relationship. A lot of times they end up deleting good information that could have helped them. So what we like to do is say, when we jump in, let's make sure we retain that information because it could be very beneficial for your case moving forward. We can get what's called digital forensic experts involved, or DFEs, who have the actual ability to retain that evidence, even on apps like Snapchat that delete that information immediately. There may be ghost images available, but that has to happen pretty quickly. So we need to get involved pretty quickly in that process.
So that's social media. What about some other things that Crisp & Associates can help them with?
So not just the social media piece, but we're going to talk to people who were there at the time. Memories never get better as time goes by. It's things fade. So what we want to do is we want to jump in and talk to the witnesses who remember, what did you see? What was going on at that time? So what we like to do is our own counter investigation, and that is often very helpful as well.
And at what point should they get in contact with you?
The minute that they get any inkling, as I like to say, their spider sense is tingling in that sense, give us a call. We want to make sure we have rounded everybody up. The further away this gets, the less cooperative people become because they just don't want to deal with it and they don't want to have to be bothered. I don't remember. You get all kinds of different things there. And what you also don't want to see is when law enforcement talks to them, they will start shaping and twisting statements. And I shouldn't say sometimes, very often it is not to the benefit of the accused.
So that's why it's good to contact you or someone in your position immediately.
Yes, sir.
When you feel uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Jonathan. That's all the time we have today for Military Justice. And thanks, Jonathan, for being here with us today. If you are interested in learning more about today's topic, go to mymilitarylawyers.com. Remember, you need to know the facts, you need to know your options, and you need the help of experts when facing military justice.